Welcome to That Girl Club. We're your hosts, Christina and Katerina, and we're here to empower you on your journey to becoming that girl in every aspect of your life. Join us as we dive deep into inspiring conversations with influential entrepreneurs and experts, sharing their insights and strategies to help you thrive. From navigating the struggles of womanhood to launching your dream business and everything in between, we've got you. So buckle up. You are about to discover what it really means to be that girl. Welcome to the club. Today's guest is Dr. Kwadwo, an ICU physician and department head of critical care at the Ottawa Hospital. He is the founder of Prevention Over Prescription, a movement and podcast dedicated to transforming healthcare by prioritizing lifestyle, nutrition, and early intervention to keep people out of the ICU. In this episode, Dr. Kwadwo tells us how we can implement lifestyle and diet changes to limit our risk of disease and ultimately stay out of his unit. He shares his own personal stories from the ICU, his own struggle with stress and how it affected him physically, and how important stress management is for our overall health. Dr. Kwadwo is also the co-founder of Osler AI, an innovative platform for medical education, and he's also the founder of Gyata Nutrition, a science-based supplement company, as well as the author of Unapologetic Leadership and has another book on the way. He's a sought-after speaker, entrepreneur, and advocate for healthcare equity. He is committed to driving meaningful change in medicine through innovation, leadership, and prevention-focused solutions. On top of all of this, he is just so easygoing and hilarious. We had such a blast talking to him and learned so much, and just cannot wait for you guys to hear his perspective on all things health-related. So let's get into it. Dr. Kwadwo, welcome to That Girl Club. Thank you so much for being here today.
I feel pretty excited to be here. I feel like I'm in special company. Game Changers in Ottawa, great studio.
Stop it.
Let's go. We're ready for this. It's going to be episode. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be the number one episode. You know it. You know it deep down. It's going to be the number one episode.
Amazing. Not only are you like the brains and all the things because you're a doctor and the head of ICU department in Ottawa, but you're also hilarious and have such an amazing personality. So we're just thrilled to have you. I really want to start with, like, we've kind of given everyone like an intro of who you are already, you know, in the introduction, but take us back. Like, you're very well known in Ottawa specifically for, and I guess surrounding areas as well too, right? You're well known for your motto of prevention over prescription. Dive into that for us. Like, where does that come from?
It came unexpectedly. So as an ICU doc, you take care of the sickest of the sick, that people come into you needing life support, needing life-saving measures to survive. And a lot of our patients don't survive. They have a horrible experience. For them, they have PTSD, anxiety, depression. They're dysfunctional. They're not the same person when they come through our walls. Mm-hmm. And then you look at the impact on their family. And then my research interest has always been on cost. Like, how do we save healthcare dollars?
Right.
So during the pandemic, where I was seeing a lot of people with preventable disease land in ICU, diabetes, high blood pressure, metabolic syndrome, I had this huge aha moment saying, like, if we focused on prevention, all these people potentially are not coming through your walls, and they're not going through all the suffering, their family's not going through the suffering, and they're not costing the system thousands of dollars. So say, for example, can I put you guys on the spot?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I always, sometimes people overshoot or undershoot, but we'll see how this goes. For an average admission related to COVID in ICU, we'll say, how much do you think one person costs?
The hospital.
The system, yeah.
Oh, God. I don't even know. Do you have an idea?
Listen, I watch a lot of medical shows. I see, like, U.S. bills. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'll preface it, this is Canadian numbers. So, like, you have a loved one, unfortunately had COVID, ended up on a ventilator in ICU. What would you guess?
$40,000.
What would you say?
I'm going to guess they're on event, and for how long? Or they're just admitted?
Sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 3 weeks, sometimes it's longer. So it's
Oh,
on
I think
average.
it would-
It's average.
Yeah, I feel like average.
Sometimes it's 3 days.
Okay, yeah, maybe my guess is maybe 50, 60 grand.
Yeah, 50, about 50 grand. Actually.
Okay,
There you go.
Yeah.
We were on
50
You're pretty much right on
yeah.
money there.
Honestly, you guys, that was the closest I've ever heard somebody guess this stuff.
Really?
Yeah, either they way overshoot like $300,000,
Yeah,
or
that's
they say like
Grey's
10,000.
Anatomy taught me something.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say I was just kind of going off of you. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. But like, if you think about if we could prevent one of those admissions and use those resources for preventative measures, how effective would that be? Give people gym memberships, discount for Whole Foods, community memberships. Like, a lot of that money, if diverted into prevention, could have so much good. You avoid the suffering of seeing someone like me in the ICU. You
Yeah.
live a healthier life. Your mental health is better. So many things can be beautiful if we focus on prevention. So then, on my social media, just prevention over prescription, like, let's put some more eggs in that basket. And it's a message that really resonated with people.
For sure. And I think it's a big movement right now too, like on social media with all these doctors like yourself coming forward, right? That are kind of going a little like against the grain, if you will, right? And going a little bit more, I guess the holistic route again, if you will, versus, diving into medication and prescription and pills and all these things, right? Because at the end of the day, that's really treating your symptoms. It's not treating the root cause.
Exactly.
Right?
And medical school, you don't spend any time really looking at root cause. You look at how to treat the heart attack, how do you treat the stroke, how do you treat the infection. But during the pandemic, when I saw a lot of people coming in with diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, we start to interview more and more people, and you realize that a lot of these conditions are reversible. And once again, I never heard this in my training and post-training. And so when I came to this realization that this pre-diabetic or diabetic, we could use either low carb or focus on protein or fasting or some method to reverse their diabetes, I was like, wow. It's like, yeah, let's start thinking of root causes and looking at things at a more holistic perspective and revolutionize how we treat our patients. Because right now, like, I can't say this enough. You land in acute care or you see someone like myself, you're not coming out the same person. It's not a good experience.
Yeah.
And right now, to your point, everything is so reactive versus proactive, and that early intervention that could have avoided a lot of people landing through those doors.
100%. And when I haven't had a loved one personally land in ICU. Wow, that's not true. My old man at one point landed in ICU when I was a teen. But when you see what families have to go through, you want to do everything you can to avoid that suffering. So to me, this is a very strong message that we need to get out there, and I love it. Like, it's a passion now for me, because when you reach out these messages and it lands with some people, it's such an amplifier. Like when I'm seeing someone in the ICU, it's one-on-one. When we're doing something like this, you're doing something on social media about focusing on protein, hit them weights, and now mom's life is better or your brother's life is better. You totally change the trajectory of their
where
health.
they were potentially heading.
And it takes a lot to unlearn what we already know. A lot of the older generations too are so stuck in their ways and so, things that they've been doing for years. Even when it comes to nutrition, I'll tell my parents, like, cut out these oils or do this. They're like, we've been having them for so long. Yeah, well, there are a lot more ingredients involved nowadays, or there's a lot more in our environments today that our grandparents didn't have that are affecting their health.
Exactly. Yeah. There's, like, I remember. So I have this. She'd be good for your show, Julia Hajar. Shout out to Julia. She ages ago was talking about plastics, like microplastics.
Yes.
Probably, I'm gonna say 8 years ago, and she's a smart person, so I caught my ear. But I always thought, like, this is probably a little bit on the fringe side. It's a little bit woo woo, but we'll see what materializes. There was a paper in the New England Journal of Medicine, like one of our highest profile medical journals, saying you could find microplastics. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was in your reproductive organs. Like, this is concerning.
Yeah, like that's serious.
And they affect your hormones, and you're seeing all these like maybe potential links with early puberty in our youth. Like, we got to keep asking these questions and not closing doors on things that weren't conventional, because a lot of the times they end up being true. This is one thing I'm seeing is what sounded like crazy conspiracy theories at one point are now materializing. So, yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying.
So with the microplastics, like what are, like, break down what that really is, like microplastics, and where can people find them, and how can we mitigate like using microplastics?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I'll caveat it by I'm still learning.
Okay.
But my understanding would be the most common thing would be like some of your water bottles that you come across. So your whatever water bottle that is often put in a warm setting, like even if you've never put it in your car in the summertime, but the transport to get it to you was probably in a warm place. Right. And so the microplastics end up in the water and they deposit in your body. And so the solution there is glass bottles. Like this is the thing that you'll see most of these biohackers and wellness experts recommend. I mean, I must say on a personal level, I'm still working on it. I just did a interview with JJ Virgins yesterday, actually, and she was saying how this is why she thinks saunas have never been more important to kind of like detox and trying to clear your body of some of these things.
It's funny because we started with the microplastics, but then my mind went to like candles and all these fumes and everything disrupting hormones within the home. But there is a lot of noise. Like even personally, okay, I'm quite fanatic about plastics. Like I yell at, colleagues at work. I yell at my family, like, stop using that, get glass. But then there's candles, then there's detergents, then there's so much noise and so much involved with that prevention or early intervention. What do you think is top priority, like first thing or first couple things that people can implement in their lifestyle to start to make that shift without getting overwhelmed?
Such a good question, because one of my big philosophies and what our upcoming book is about is like look at the 80-20 of your health. Like what's the lever that's going to give you the biggest impact? And a lot of that depends on your goals, right? Like if most of the people that come to me, they're heavier, they're metabolically unhealthy, they're pre-diabetic, they want to help lose weight, and from that perspective, I always say, like, amp up your protein intake. 98% of people did not eat enough protein.
Yeah,
I hear that.
They don't even know how much protein they should be having.
Not even close. Like, honestly, just go watch when you go to work the next time. Look at what they're eating. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna have my little soup, and I had my salad.
And you'll
so good. I think this is really good for me.
Yeah,
even though
they're being healthy, quote unquote.
I can't lift my head above my pillow, but
people have like a bagel and butter for breakfast. I'm like, there's no protein. I'm like, I had an egg with it. That's still not enough protein.
Yeah, one egg.
Yeah,
no.
People don't realize 6 to 7 grams in one egg. Like I will rock, as an example, 5 eggs plus like some ground beef in there or some chicken. Yeah. Like we're going to town. So.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so to answer your question, like if it's like getting fitter or stronger or healthier, weight gain wise, definitely the easiest one to me is focus on your protein intake. And I say anywhere from 0.7 to 1 gram per pound. So for me, I'm a little over 200 pounds. So I'd say I aim for at least 150 grams of protein.
Oh, okay, that's actually less than I thought you were going to say.
Well, I mean, that's the minimum for me to maintain my frame and so, yeah, the more, like if you get closer to the gram per pound, like obviously you're winning. But the nice thing about it when you do this is that protein gets you increasing your lean muscle mass. So then by doing that, you are literally burning more calories at rest. When you have more muscle, you burn more calories just by chilling.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's the one magic lever. Second, you are eating. You're going to eat way less junk because you're fuller. Like if you have a protein meal, put a bunch of protein on there, put some greens in that bad boy, mix it in with your carbs. You're going to be full. You're not going to be looking for them chips. You're not going to be looking for the
blood sugar is going to be more stable, right?
Yeah, and that's the third thing. Thank you for that. Is that your blood sugar? Christina's going to be running this show for real. Like she's got her MD and ND and all these things.
I'm a Google doctor.
No, but you're right. I'm just saying, like you got the game right now. But your blood sugar regulation is much better. So I don't know, you guys are fit already, so like you probably have never worn a continuous glucose monitor, but when you come to a stage where you want to learn more, putting on that, I put on one for 2 weeks, and the power of protein was amazing. So say you had this pasta dish, like a heavy carb dish. If I put a bunch of protein on that carb dish, my glucose was like this, nice and steady or whatever, as opposed to just eating like the plain pasta where you have that spike. Yeah.
And then it makes you more hungry, I find, later on. Because to your point, like, you know, for myself, like I'm super healthy. Like I try to be, right. Like I work out, I eat, you know, very well, all the things, and I'm not, you know, an overweight person by any means, but I still do struggle with blood sugar regulation because I have, you know, hormonal conditions and all of these things, right? So I think it's important too for people to know that, like, you don't have to be overweight to have these issues or to have these problems, right?
That's a very good point.
Or to track and like intervene with these issues.
Yeah. Because I'm a big believer of like intervene before it's a major problem too. Like some people, not everyone will agree with me, but I'm a big fan. Like I weigh myself daily. And people say like, oh, then you're gonna get neurotic with this shit, but like what I find is like I don't get too caught up in I gained or lost a pound or two like that.
I think it's easier from a male's perspective as well, right?
But totally, because of less hormone shifts.
Yeah.
But when I see a trend, like if it's now on the second week, now I'm not going back to baseline. Now I'm still 2 pounds heavier. Now it's much easier to pivot then compared to when I'm 10 pounds heavier. Right. So like I don't need as much of a nudge. I could just like one of the things I like to do if I've been doing a lot of debauchery is like I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting, but my first meal will just be a shake. Like that's what I just do a protein shake, smoothie, high in protein. That will be my meal, and then I'll have my supper. Like that kind of mild tweak in my diet is enough to get me back to baseline. So as opposed to like now having to look at my diet for the next 4 weeks or 8 weeks because now I'm 10 pounds overweight, like that is harder.
It's like it's like tweak before that happens. Like make the little tweaks before that happens. I want to like backtrack a little bit, and then I also kind of want to dive a little bit more into intermittent fasting because again, that's also a very trendy word right now, like a buzzword on socials. And I think for men and women, it can be very different. And I'd love to hear your opinion on that. But I also want to go back to the metabolic health because I mean, I don't know what you see every day in the ICU, but are you seeing an increase in patients that are metabolically unhealthy? Like, are you finding that a lot of these diseases are stemming from that?
Very good question. So, just to put a context into it, if you look at least the U.S. data, I think it's 89%, 87% of patients or people are metabolically unhealthy. Like it's rampant. And then in my world, there's some data that suggests that anywhere from 33 to 50% will come in with metabolic syndrome. I am definitely anecdotally seeing more people come in heavier and unhealthy for sure. I can't quote you a study
No, for sure. But are you seeing those people who are overweight? Are they like it's diabetes, it's heart diseases, it's like is it a lot of that?
It's everything. Like you come, but the thing is that people don't realize this. When you come in heavy, everything is complicated. Everything gets complicated. Like I'll say it, like without giving out too much information, we saw this extremely obese patient that is not old, but because they had so much fat on them, or adipose tissue would be the medical term, we couldn't get enough oxygen in them. For them to put enough pressure to expand their lungs and to expand their chest wall.
Wow.
Was they're not surviving.
And is that like the visceral fat, like the fat that surrounds your organs, right?
Everything.
Yeah.
That, like the one I'm talking about specifically was actually the fat that you could see, because it weighs down. Like imagine you're trying to breathe on top of somebody sitting on your chest, right? Like that's how much fat some patients have. Imagine trying to do surgery on somebody when you have to go through that much fat to try and get to the vital organs. Think about how difficult it would be to close their tissues when you're trying to sew them up. When you have, like, some people have this, like a layer of this much fat.
I didn't even think about that. Like about doing procedures on someone who's really heavy, how difficult that would be.
It complicates everything, your recovery. Like the big thing in my world in ICU, this sounds ridiculous to say, but it's actually hard to die in 2025 because you have all these medications that keep the heart beating. We have ventilators, we have dialysis machines. The machines
like it's very advanced.
Yeah. And so it all comes down to quality of life. Can you recover? That's the main thing. And if you can't even get out of bed because you're so big, or you don't have a good baseline, like that is troubling. Like the people that do well in my world are fit. They if you're 70 plus and you go into the gym 5 days a week, like I often in talks give a story about. I'll give the short version. A guy that had a cardiac arrest, resuscitated in his 70s, works out 5 days a week. He was walking in the ICU on a ventilator because he's that strong and had the resilience because he's a guy that works out 5 days a week. And he's at home with his kids or with his grandkids. And the norm for someone like that is that you do not survive or you don't leave hospital. So this is legit the power of like being strong or not being metabolically.
And being mobile. I think mobility is a big one too.
We take our health very seriously here at TGC, and our guest, Dr. Kwadwo, gifted us with grass-fed whey protein and a stainless steel shaker bottle from his science-backed supplement company, Gyata Nutrition. The protein is so delicious and the ingredients are super clean, which we love. With over 23 grams of grass-fed whey protein and only 100 calories, this is the perfect quick post-workout snack. We also love the stainless steel shaker cup, as Dr. Kwadwo shares how dangerous microplastics are, and we're definitely limiting those. We are so excited to announce that all TGC listeners get 10% off at checkout when you use our code TGC. Gyata has also lots of science-backed supplements to choose from on gyatanutrition.com. Yeah, because it's like obviously like sometimes there's cases where, and again, I don't know this for sure, obviously quote me if I'm wrong, but like there's obviously cases where diseases happen to people who are healthy like you, right? Like, or, you know, us, like diseases happen, things happen, but I think it's like a matter of kind of what you're saying is like, okay, yes, that can happen even if you're healthy. You can still get cancer. You can still get, you know, heart disease, right? Yeah. And because there's other factors that play into it, like genetics and stress and all these things, and we can get into that. But
give yourself a fighting chance.
Yes, yeah. You'll have more of a fighting chance, exactly. If you're a healthy person too, but if your baseline is strong, I like that. You gotta have a strong baseline.
I'll even give you another example. Unfortunately, she recently passed away. Cindy Hooper, diagnosed with pancreatic cancer back in 2012 or 2013, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. And she was a very active, she was 50 when she was diagnosed, I believe. Very active 50-year-old, goes to the gym, works out almost every day. And she completed an Ironman triathlon while on chemotherapy and radiation.
Wow.
And she lived over a decade with pancreatic cancer, and the average mortality is like 2 years.
Yeah, that's like unheard of.
Yeah. Like that's the power of a baseline. And so you're right. What you're saying, Kat, of like having that disposition is going to put you miles ahead of the average patient.
And I wish people internalized that and understood that.
That's why we're here.
I know. It's like everyone just thinks like, oh, okay, it's easier said than done. No, it's in these steps, in these daily steps that it can be done.
Yeah, and like I'm a big believer too of, and I hope this comes across on social media and the book that's coming out too, is like, we don't have to make it complicated. Like, let's make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, simplify it.
Honestly, I was talking to a fellow Ghanaian who's looking to reduce her pounds, and I'm like, don't change your fundamental diet, like the foods that you love, but just it's proportion. So, there's a lot of rice dishes. I say double or triple the meat that you were going to put on that thing. Still enjoy that food. It's going to be just as delicious, but better for you if you just amp up the protein. If you don't like to run, don't run. If you like, walk. If you like, don't like playing tennis, play pickleball. Like, make it easy for people.
Yeah.
Dance, do something you enjoy.
Exactly. Or just did an interview with Patricia on like exercise snacks. This idea of,
I've heard of that, exercise snacking.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, like you've been recording something for like 3 hours. You get up and you just do 20 air squats, or you do 10 burpees.
Yeah.
I just think we make it way too complicated for people. Make it easy, like something simple. Like, I'm a big believer of the walking is powerful, and that's another one that we know the data supports. You increase your step count, you live longer. And you live longer, you sleep better. It's good on a cardiovascular health. So everyone in here, even me, I think we could increase our step count by even about 25%. And it's little things. It's little things like, next time you have a Zoom meeting, turn off the video, or your Teams meeting, or turn off the video, and just choose a destination to walk to. If you got a puppy, walk the dog during that time. Go on the treadmill, do something.
Get a walking pad.
Get a walking pad under the desk.
Yeah, I gotta get one.
There's always that one
too.
person on the meeting that's like taking the meeting like this. You know what they're doing, but you gotta respect it.
Yeah, it looks odd, but I'll give them mad props because they're prioritizing their health. So
yeah, you're not wrong. Too many of us are too sedentary, right? Especially when you're working that 9 to 5. It's tough. You're not getting
days
out.
like this too.
Oh, exactly. In this weather, it's hard to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. So you have your own supplement company, which tell us about that and how you got started with that.
Oh, thanks for the love there. It's something we're pretty proud of. So it's Gyata Nutrition. I've been preaching, as you've heard already, about making sure you got enough protein intake and really trying to make things easy for folks. And in Canada anyway, it's hard to know what to take, like all these supplements, and
it's
oversaturated.
Yeah, there's so much noise, and we talk about this so much. Like, you and I, whoever, we talk about this a lot. There's a lot of noise in general about health, and that's why like I love speaking to people like you, because it's like we can break that noise down a little bit because there's so many supplements. So it's like, where does one even start?
And
right?
Gyata Nutrition is science-backed, so we do want to hear a little bit more about that, because there's constantly like, this is healthy for you, but then we find out it was bought out by a conglomerate and it's not healthy for you.
Like, it has all these like additives in it and whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I felt like, can you give people a reliable source of supplements that is MD backed, Health Canada approved, that you don't have to sift through the noise? And so my main draw was the protein powder. What I wanted to do was to really create that healthy living for more people. So high quality New Zealand whey isolate. You guys are gonna taste it. It's gonna be delicious. You guys are gonna love it. I know you. And
we're gonna hit you up for a bulk order after.
Yeah, exactly. No, and we added collagen, fish oil, and magnesium. And it's just, I wanted products that I could back up with science. And so what you'll see from us is like no false claims. Like, the protein is good for post workout recovery. It's good in general for the reasons we talked about. Some data now even to say like if you're getting ready for surgery, it's good for your recovery to take pre and post. We added the collagen because you guys are too young, but I'm starting to get the joint issues.
Oh no, I take
trust me.
collagen daily.
Yeah, like
It's
some
also
people
good for hair
and
and
nails,
nails.
but yeah, I keep it to the clinical for sure. The fish oil for anti-inflammation, for the brain health, and then magnesium for stress. And it's been an absolute gem, this exploration. Like once again, my real job, as we talked about, is working at the Ottawa Hospital, but this has just been a fun thing to explore. I get my kids involved; they get involved in the videos, and
I love that.
And they're huge ambassadors. They wear the swag. We sponsor a couple hockey teams in the city, so it's been an absolute joy.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. And what are sort of like three, if you could just say, like what would be your top like 3 supplements that every human on this planet should be taking, and why?
I love this question. Okay, I love this question because sometimes people are surprised because we don't carry some of this stuff. So like, I think vitamin D as a Canadian is a no-brainer. We're not enough sun. We don't get out enough.
How many units would you suggest taking?
There's difference in the guidelines, but I'll say what I take. I take 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm dark-skinned. We're in Canada. We sometimes literally don't get sunlight because of work hours. So I take 2,000 a day. I don't think about it. That's my
It's
huckleberry.
non-negotiable.
The other one, I think, I don't think it's controversial to say anymore, is like I think almost everybody should be taking creatine.
Yes.
I'm hearing a lot about
all of a
this.
sudden it's everywhere.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you why. So I think muscle is magic. So you're gonna carry more muscle, and we talked about burning more calories as a result. You'll be stronger. You'll be quicker to recover, and there's some cognitive benefits. Like there was a recent study looking at cognitive behavioral therapy with creatine and showed better improvement in patients' depression symptoms.
Interesting.
We're seeing some more in terms of mental clarity enhancement associated with creatine. So and it's like by far out of all the supplements, mostly the creatine monohydrate, well studied, very minimal in side effects, maybe bloating. There's not the myth of hair loss has been dismissed. So to me, that one's a no-brainer too.
Yeah.
Like that vitamin D creatine I take on a daily basis, and then the rest are kind of I find are just mostly on the bonus tip, or you could personalize. So even my protein, like protein powder, I don't take it every day. I take it on days that I don't think I'm going to hit up my protein goals.
Yeah, maybe you can't get a real meal in.
Yeah, absolutely. So it ends up being about 3 days a week.
Right.
I take my collagen daily because of my knees, but I think that's an individual one. Magnesium I take nightly because I think for me it helps me wind down. I sleep better. I think that one is not one that everyone needs to take, but it can be very helpful.
Like magnesium biglycinate.
Glycinate,
Glycinate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other, that's a good thing to highlight. So the other one's kind of like say magnesium oxide or citrate will make you poop.
Yes.
Yeah, depending what you want, guys.
Yeah,
Make
maybe
sure
that's
you're
what you
using the
want.
right magnesium.
Yeah, maybe that's what you want. And then what else do I think those are the ones that I think would be highlighted for people to take potentially on a regular tip. Is there any ones that you think of that you
Yeah, like
curious
what about a
about?
probiotic? Because we hear a lot about like protecting your gut health.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I am still relatively ignorant when it comes to gut microbiome and all these things. I think it's not controversial to say that a healthy gut microbiome is associated with positive things like better health. I think it's super interesting. I think in the next 2 to 5 years, we're going to have some significant discovery when it comes to that. Like even there's a Parkinson's doc in Ottawa, Schlossmacher, that's showing like links between, I'm going to screw this up, but it was almost like you could tell that there's changes in your microbiome related to a medication that they were noticing that could be linked to Parkinson's. So like something they're seeing in your microbiome ultimately tying to Parkinson's disease. So I really think that like the gut-mind connection, all these things, we're going to have more clarity on that.
In the next 2 to 5 years, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
And but the evidence for probiotics, I'm not totally sure about. But
Okay, we're gonna pivot a little bit. We talked a lot about, health overall, early intervention, nutrition, etc. But what about some other lifestyle factors like sleep and stress management? Because stress I feel is a big one.
Stress is a killer, yo. Like it is. Like I can't tell you how clear that is to me over the years. Like it's not something you'll learn about in medical school necessarily, but clinically, what I've seen, I'll even at a personal level, I remember going through some like symptoms. I was having heart palpitations after we lost my old man, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm going crazy here. Like why am I having all these symptoms? And I go to my social worker that I work in palliative care too, and I was telling my social worker, Heather, I was having these symptoms, and she's like, it's very normal. It's just that stress response. It's manifesting in your body somehow. I honestly, I do think that the gratitude practice is good. Try that for a week and see how your overall approach to life is feeling. That's one. The other ones that come to mind, like you hear a lot about like, practice mindfulness and meditation. And so one of the things that has helped me, because I feel like we're pretty similar in the terms of like go, is that like Huberman was talking about he calls it the physiological sigh. I think I got that right. Physiological sigh. It's a breathing technique you could implement throughout the day that, according to his study, is just as impactful as a 5-minute mindful meditation or guided meditation, where take a deep breath in. I like to do this while I'm waiting for coffee, or if I'm doing it right, before picking up my phone, or before I'm about to react to something I'm pissed off about. Take a deep breath in, and then at the top of your breath, do a little sniff on top of that, and a slow exhalation. And I can almost guarantee, in the moment, you do a couple of those breaths, and I find it can be significant. If I got to go to a family meeting, tell them, give them some bad news. I got to do a complicated procedure in the ICU. Just one breath beforehand, even. Let's go. You get ready for battle. So yeah, who was I talking to about this? Ben Azadi, he's a big mantra person. Like he writes down like his identity and reads it. Like I can't remember what he wrote down on there, but it was something along the lines of like, it's the one I put down actually, is like, I'm a change maker. Like I'm a fucking hustler. I'm gonna fucking create some change. Yeah, you're ready to take on whatever. And with finding your purpose, I think it's a little bit of reflection. You look back over the last X amount of time and say, what has really sparked you? What gets you into flow? What makes you excited about your day? And it might be for you guys creating those connections, having those conversations, networking, and making those partnerships that like are gonna change the world. For me, it's often around like helping others at scale, like really trying to improve the lives, like meaningfully affect lives. And I think if we look at a lot of people that are unhealthy right now, if you look at the mental health of a lot of our youth, it's because they don't have that purpose. And when you don't have that purpose, or you're not aligned with your values, man, I don't want to fucking go to the gym. I don't want to fucking get off the couch. I want to watch some of that Netflix. Yeah, people don't have jump when they don't have their purpose. And I kind of realized this too for myself during the pandemic, where you couldn't voice how you felt, and you were felt like you needed to be censored on stuff, and you just things weren't right and you can't sleep as well, you're a little bit extra pounds, you're eating them chips because like you need some kind of dopamine to settle things out. So I think one of the levers that most of us could use is really paying attention to what drives us. And when we're aligned, things fall into place.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kwadwo, for joining our podcast today. It was fascinating having you on and speaking with you. You are such a character, and I mean that with so much love. You've been amazing. So thank you. What is the one non-negotiable you would tell our listeners to start today to be that girl in the sense?
You know, I'm going to go off script a little bit.
Yeah.
For that girl, stay authentic. Know who you are, and there's too much like thoughts on how you are being appear and how you fit in, and just if I were to be my younger self, if I would go back, I'd say like be your authentic self, show your true colors. You'll attract good energy, good people that will bring you up, and we need more folks like you in Ottawa right now. That positive energy, the go-getters, change makers. Know what I'm saying? Not sitting on the couch doing shit.
And now the plug. So Gyata Nutrition, your pages.
Yeah, where can everyone find you?
Yeah, so I'm going to be quick. Sorry, Gyata Nutrition is our supplement brand. Killing the game. Podcast is Prevention Over Prescription. Book, Unapologetic Leadership. You can catch that on Amazon or on our host site, drkwadwo.ca. Also has all our shit. New book will come out. It's probably going to be called either Prevention Over Prescription or Vital Shift. We're on the fence with the editors or the publishers, I should say. I am forgetting something.
Your Instagram, maybe?
All the social handles. At Quadcast, KWADCAST. That's on IG. That's on YouTube. That's on TikTok. That's on X. That's on everything. Facebook. All the things.
Across the board. We'll link it in the bio.
Yes. Changing the game.
Amazing.
Changing the game.
Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, we'd really appreciate if you could like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok at It's That Girl Club to stay in the loop with your girls and join us in becoming that girl. See you next Wednesday.